we all three of us kind of sat down. And when all three of us sat down and talked about it, that's when it went from like, this is a stupid idea to this could potentially happen.
No one gets artists better than other artists. Therefore, whenever you get a chance to network with them, you should take it. And our next guests are here to help you with that. And in doing so, have also taken it to a whole new level, in the form of Concept 101. Daniel McGarry, Stefan Valasek, and Jules Darriulat are all working concept artists and founders of Concept 101, which is a free art conference that includes talks, portfolio reviews, and friendly networking opportunities with your fellow creatives. And in this episode, discover how all this came about, why it was important for them to do this, and how they were able to offer this entire event for free. So buckle up, remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. All right, yeah, let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome to the Learn Squared podcast, and I'm excited to have on not one, not two, but three guests, all hailing from Concept 101. Hey guys.
Hi. What's up?
So today we have something a bit different from our usual format, where we just have like a one-on-one guest. It's three guests, but they're all united in one particular way. Actually, more ways than one. I'm sure we're going to find out. So today we have Danny, Jules, and Stefan. So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring them on, aside from their great art and hearing more about them, is an event that they have, I guess, I believe have co-founded together and have started, which is, I believe, a first of its kind. But before we get into that, let's introduce everybody. So if you start off with Danny, it'd be great if you could just give everyone a little origin story as to who you are.
So I'm Daniel. I grew up in the UK. I give a short version. I studied graphic design in London for 3 years, and then while I was doing that, I was teaching myself concept art, and I was very lucky. And before graduation, I was able to get a job at ILM. So about a month before I graduated, I started working there as a junior concept artist, and that's still what I'm doing now. So yeah.
Nice. And Jules?
I'm Jules. I'm from Switzerland. I'm also a junior concept artist in the UK. I'm working on TV and series. I've been working at a company called Putting Practice for about a year now. I moved into the UK for university. I studied in Bournemouth. And that's all about me.
And Stefan?
Hey, I'm Stefan, and I work as a junior concept artist, mostly focusing on vehicles and props and stuff like that. Hard surface stuff in Shark Mob. I've been working there for about almost 2 years. It's been a fun journey because I joined when the studio was very, very small, and it was a privilege. I finished uni, and it took me 8 months to actually find a job after that, so I wasn't as good as Dan. It took me a long time, but I was very happy when I actually got the job. And prior to that, I was studying in Staffordshire University. Then I was living in Germany for 6 months, doing a little bit of freelance, and then I moved to London and I met Jules, and I was happy to keep meeting Daniel because I knew him from before. So yeah.
Cool. So I guess there's one common theme here is concept art, and it's clear like this is something that you guys, each of you, wanted to do from early on. But correct me if I'm wrong. So Daniel, like, when did it kind of like begin for you? Like, when was this concept art life that you wanted, or career you wanted, something that you wanted?
I think I got first exposed to it probably through people like Ahmed El-Dori and Feng Zhu, so kind of YouTube-y stuff, when I was maybe about 16 or 17. And then essentially I was working towards it for quite a long time, so I thought this sounds really fun. I love video games, love movies. Mm-hmm. And because there isn't a whole lot of access in the UK to education around concept art, I was very much teaching myself for quite a long time. And then I was lucky enough to go to the Vertex London event for kind of concept art and filming games and stuff, which is also where I met Stefan. And while I was there, I met some real concept artists, such as like my current boss and the people I work with, and loads of other great people from other companies. And they really kind of opened up my mind as to, what I needed to do to become a professional. So then about 2 years after that, I just worked my portfolio and moved into kind of the professional space from there, kind of slowly and gradually.
Nice. And Jules?
So I discovered concept art, I think, with Warhammer's rule books. So at the time, I was very, very young, and I just saw all these amazing artworks and the illustrations in the books. And I thought, oh, wow, it's crazy. People actually make a living out of painting and that kind of things. And then I grew up a bit, and I kind of learned about like concept art in video games and that kind of things. And I remember once I traveled to London with my family. I was about 15, and we just messaged, we emailed basically a London studio called Opus Arts, and they agreed to meet with me for coffee, which was amazing because, I was just 15, meeting kind of the people that just are doing my dream job. And so I met with them, and they told me about a guy called Daniel Matthews, who basically did industry workshops, and he told me he's trying to do an event and he's going to need some helpers. And so I reached out to him, and since then I was a helper on every industry workshop. So that was like a true like eye-opening thing for me, because I just, coming from Switzerland to the UK, learning what is concept art, like learning what it is for real, not what people fancy about it. So then this clearly impacted me a lot. And since then, I've just been working towards the goal of doing that as a living.
Nice. I think I actually met you on the 2018 one. I think it was the one-day workshop thing. I believe you were like helping people give the lanyards and stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably. So I was doing tickets, the bins and all that. Awesome. Helper things. It was very nice. It was amazing for me to be able to participate to these events.
Cool. And Stefan?
Cool. So I guess so I'm from Slovakia. So hey to all the Slovakian concept artists, because I don't know how many there are. So I'm from Slovakia, and I studied. So I got interested in comic books because I used to collect a lot of comic books, and I was aware how shit I was at concept art, or like at drawing. So I don't think I ever had like the idea of like talent or whatever. So I drew a lot, and I bought like anatomy books, and I got better at it. And then I heard about concept art. I watched some Feng Zhu videos, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. How could someone paint in Photoshop? Just blew my mind. I was like, this is ridiculous. Who cares about comic books? Let's do some painting. So it took me like 5 years, actually I think I was like 15 around when I started to get into concept art. So now I'm 24, so it's been like 9 years, and I'm still learning a lot, but I think that's sort of what started my interest, was comic books, and then Feng Zhu, and then I went to uni for it as well, and met a bunch of really good friends that helped me improve, and I am still in contact with. So that's that.
Feng Zhu is like, especially his YouTube channel. I'm sure there's like very few people that have not seen it, and probably will start looking at it. Either way, they'll probably stumble on it eventually if they haven't sorted it out already. But like same, like in terms of Feng Zhu and his YouTube, like what he used to just put out there, that information, from what I had been hunting and looking at for myself at the time, no one had really ever showcased that kind of workflow, I guess what it is to be a concept artist for working like entertainment industry, to that level of insight, and just like, I guess, beginning to end process. And like it's probably even to this day still timeless and will still prove valuable, considering when he first dropped those to like how much technology is advanced and tools that we use and everything. So it's like, I think again, something you guys have mentioned already is a case of there's been a mixture of like educating yourselves, trying to network, and then trying to hunt for, I guess, those missing, like maybe gaps of knowledge or skills, and you've tried to hunt for those either, like you mentioned, through Feng Shui or other places. But like, what? I guess, yeah, Stefan, we'll stick with yourself. What was that journey like for yourselves? Like, why did you constantly keep wanting to seek, I guess, that information, as opposed to just maybe sticking with, like say a course of some kind or just going to an institution? Why do you think you had to kind of like branch off into all these different, I guess, threads of like research and knowledge to kind of get yourself that, that complete picture of what it takes to build a career in concept art?
Sorry, ask me. Yeah.
So like.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. I was just checking.
Okay.
Cool. No, I mean, I think is at the beginning you don't like. I had no idea what it was, and at first, I saw like the Feng Shui videos. I thought, oh man, that's so cool, and he's doing like a lot of flashy, like it feels like very kind of like flashy, and I think that's why it also kind of picked up, but because it's just so cool. But eventually you kind of also learn that there's more to it. It's not just about like, putting a bunch of shapes together and painting over it and make it feel realistic or something. It's, there's more to it. There's also like design and design thinking and understanding references and reference search. And I think if you are just starting, at least for me, when I was starting out, I had no idea what was happening. How was this? Where are you supposed to start? Luckily, I don't know. There was Level Up podcast around, which was awesome. They were putting out great information. So somewhere I heard that you have to do the Scott Robertson book, the How to Draw. So I was like, okay, let's start there. Learn perspective, and then I just like went down through skills, and over time I had there were those podcasts like Level Up, eventually Art Cafe, and I was also in Google Hangouts in the early times, in the Level Up Hangouts, and they were awesome. And there were some great artists that taught me a lot, and so like I think the best thing for actually anyone if they are starting is to like join a community where there are more experienced people. They'll point you in the right direction for sure.
And Daniel, what was that journey like for yourself? Like just trying to piece together like all the knowledge and all the things you needed to do to kind of like, and I guess also trying to find your own identity as to what you want to pursue as an artist, because we've all here concept artists, but as you can see, everyone's like kind of specialists in their own different fields.
For me, it was really just a question of, I think for a lot of people, you seek out information as best as you can, obviously, when you want to go into something professionally. But even just a few years ago, like 3-4 years ago, the level of like information online compared to now was like pretty negligible. And I think there's also a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people who kind of espouse themselves as concept artists, but maybe they're more on the illustration side of things. And, you see, like Stefan said, a bit more of the flashy side of concept art than you do the working side of concept art. So for me, it was really just, related obviously to what we're doing, but it was going to events and meeting people who were able to show me their work and show me what a professional portfolio looked like. And, tell me like, oh, you need to have props in your portfolio to be able to work professionally. You need to understand design language. You need to be able to use 3D. You need to be able to do this in perspective and blah, blah, blah. And then having that knowledge, I was able to like far more accurately seek out the information I actually needed to progress as an artist.
That's a good point, actually. Especially like where there's something that maybe isn't, especially with concept art and just even like learning the field, it's kind of like developing itself as it was teaching people to, become one as a professional. It's definitely not linear, and it's definitely not something that you can just start at the beginning of a textbook and look at it to the end and you basically become one. It's something that you have to like kind of nurture and your own interests come into it as well. But like, what was that kind of thing for you that really like clicked where you thought, okay, this is definitely something that I didn't know I was missing, but this is something that I need to pursue a lot more?
Well, it's probably a little bit of I don't know, sellout answer considering I work for them now. But the first time I met my current colleagues was a massive eye opener for me, because I think at the time when I was showing my portfolio, the first time I met them, I had a portfolio review with them booked at the event we were at, and I think at that point in my life, I was so detached from the realities of the job that I was like, oh yeah, this is good enough to get me working on Star Wars. But I just really didn't have anybody to correct me at that time. And I remember going through and talking to them and, getting some really invaluable advice. Essentially, really, it was just like, you need to sharpen up all of these different areas and skills to be able to work at a company like ILM. And then what solidified that even further for me was going to their talk, afterwards and sitting down and just looking at what they had on screen. And I think there was this moment where I was like, oh, this isn't, some unachievable thing. This isn't the art that you see on the internet and you go, oh, wow, if only I could ever do that. Maybe one day, this is the standard you have to be at to actually get a job and to progress in your career. Because I think at the time I had this assumption that, I'm a student, so I can be at this level and that's okay. They'll take me under their wing, but that's, not the reality of most workplaces. You have to be on the level, when you join and be able to make clients happy as soon as you're in. So, yeah.
Well said. And Jules, for yourself, like, what was that kind of like, I guess, defining moment or nugget of knowledge or even that realization that really kind of like maybe accelerated your career almost, or maybe even like crystallized to the point where you kind of realized, okay, this is the path that I, need to follow to get to the levels that I want to reach?
I think it was pretty much once per year. Every time I would go to industry events and I would show up with people, and throughout the year I would build some confidence into my work, and I was like, okay, I'm ready this time. I sharpened up the skills I wanted to sharpen, and then I would get to the event. I would get both your critique, both review, and I would be very young at the time, so I would really understand, okay, I'm really not ready at this point. I need to work on many new things, sharpen many more skills. And then I would go back home and I would work on these skills and be very motivated. And then the next year it would be the same again. So yeah, definitely events, as I think same for Daniel and Stefan, the events really, really were key into getting meeting the people that actually know things, meeting the people that work in the industry. And this is where you really just get knowledge and you have direct access to it.
I think it's one of the best and worst times in your career in a way, because it's that I'm sure Jules will know the feeling of it's where you're constantly getting ripped to shreds by professionals, but at the same time you're making all these amazing bounds and leaps in your work that once you get to a certain level, it gets very difficult to make those ginormous jumps. But when you're first kind of going into it, when you go through Scott Robertson for the first time and suddenly you understand what people mean when they say your perspective is off, that's just it's so great to look back, 3 months ago, 6 months ago and see such a big improvement. So yeah, that's always I have some good and bad memories about that time in my career.
And just to bore you guys with a bit of my kind of experience in the similar kind of situations, it was almost, I can echo a lot of the thoughts and a lot of the sentiments that you guys have already expressed. Firstly, even going to industry events is kind of a big deal for me. I tend to avoid things like that generally. I'm not prefer it, but I tend to more in control if I just kind of just tick over myself. Social anxiety is a bit of a serious thing for me. Not debilitating, but if there's an option to attend something or not, I probably wouldn't. Yeah, when I did attend, I think my first event was industry workshops back in 2016, and then my second serious one, I think, was the 2018 one. And just to fast forward and cut out all the extra details that we don't need, I went there with a body of work that I thought, hey, this should get me a job. I'm sure someone would give me a job here and there. And Daniel, just like you mentioned there as well, it was and Jules as well, what you mentioned was a case of everything kind of got torn to shreds in a way where the way they were tearing it, I didn't expect that. It was a case of the way they were looking at my work, I didn't expect that. And almost kind of realigning or recalibrating how I was looking at how I was building my portfolio and the kind of work I was doing that in the end really just helped in terms of, even to this day, I'm still taking on feedback that I got, I think it's 4 years ago, maybe even more, 6 years ago. So it's super, super invaluable. And one guys you've all mentioned is that events is a big thing, like meeting others and even connecting with others online or in person. But before we get to, I guess, more or deep dive more into the event side of things, how did you three kind of connect together? I know you kind of mentioned like you've met each other here and there early on, but how has your kind of like little, I guess, clique, you could say, developed and even like, I guess, just as friends and as personal levels, but how have you kind of improved each other in terms of the art that you make as well? So yeah, Daniel, we can start with yourself.
Yeah, I'll start off because I think I was the introduction point
to and Daniel knows like everyone, so Dan was just always when you search for connections, you start with.
So you're the one with the little black book, right?
Yeah. No one's safe from me, Aaron.
Okay, fair enough. Good to know.
But yeah, I mean, I had met Stefan, like I said earlier, at Vertex in, I think, 2019. He can correct me if that's wrong. But we had some, I don't know, I went with a few friends at the time. So I had kind of organized, this is, early on in my kind of like student career, I guess, as a concept artist. So I had a few friends already who I met through Discord and Instagram and stuff like that. And I'd organized to go to this event with them. We all turned up, and then, as things go, I tried my best to socialize, to meet people. And one of the people I ended up meeting was Stefan through a mutual friend, right?
It was like Dan was standing there with his portfolio, and he's like, Dan was so motivated to get feedback. He was just going around like, give me feedback. So he was getting feedback, and I seen his portfolio. And then I seen a bunch of guys sitting on the floor, and I think Tom TCK was like Thomas Chamberlain. He's one of the speakers. He was there as well. So they're so dope, and I joined them. And turns out Daniel knew them as well, so he joined, and and we kept talking, and sort of that's how we met. Then.
With Jules, I think me and Stefan were going for I don't actually know what it was. I had some, I don't think
we were like, did we go to the pizza place?
We were going for a drink, and I had this weird, I think me and Jules had followed each other on Instagram, and I have a terrible habit of
speaking on Instagram for a while, I think.
Yeah. I have a bad habit of messaging people and asking them how they do stuff and what's going on with their lives and things. And I think, I don't know why, because I don't even think it says that you live in London, but I had a weird inkling that Jules lived in London. So I asked him, oh, do you live in London? Do you want to come for a drink with us? And he was like, oh, yeah, sure. And so that was that, really. Moving forward.
Then you see this big Swiss guy. Like, I remember I was like, where's Jules? And oh, it's that guy. Jules. Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. I really appreciate it.
And like, so how long has this kind of like been, this, I guess, like friendship been going on for then? So it's like a few years now, like 3-4 years maybe?
Probably 2 years, I guess, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I moved in London about 2 years or a year and a half ago, and I basically met them as soon as I moved in. And since we've been meeting like weekly, and then we had the idea about making the event, so we've just been meeting weekly while making the event.
Nice. I mean, that was quite funny. I think Stefan's probably the best position to talk about like how that even came about at the event. But
let's get to that. So like it's clear like what you guys have mentioned already so far, like just networking, gathering with other professionals, like is super important. You basically seen the value of it, not only in the early stages of your careers, but also like establishing, getting jobs, all that kind of stuff. Like you've seen it, the value as you've progressed in your your own careers. So what was it that made you want to start an event?
Okay, so I'm gonna try and tell this as well as I can, but it was so there were no events around for a while, and maybe that's why. So on one of the weekends, I was thinking about it. I was like, damn, there's no events. And then I had this idea, maybe we should organize it, And then on Monday I go to work and I don't think about. I go, whatever, it's some crazy idea. It makes sense. And midway through my workday, Dan calls me and goes like, "Yo, Stefan, I have this idea. You won't believe it. We should." And he was like, "I was like, well, what do you want to talk about?" It's like, I'm working, and then he's like, "Yeah, we should organize an event." So and then I was, and it was a funny coincidence that I thought about it as well, just the weekend before, and since because we meet with Jules, and Jules like organized a lot of industry workshops, I think we all three of us kind of sat down, and when all three of us sat down and talked about it, that's when it went from like, this is a stupid idea to this could potentially happen. Yeah.
Nice. And when was that like? When was that? Was that like during the pandemic, or is it more of a recent thing, or even before that?
It was around January, I believe. So like 8 months ago, something like this. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And we directly we sat down, talked about how feasible it was, and directly started to work on it on a weekly basis. And yeah, it's been a lot of work, but we're very happy with how it's going so far. So
awesome. So obviously, I think like everything is pretty much done. I believe you tickets are sold out at the time of recording, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, we are absolutely sold out. So we're going to hopefully set up some kind of waiting list, which will be, I'm sure by the time this comes out, there'll be a public thing about that. But yeah, completely sold out. So we're very, less than a month, all the tickets went. So we were super happy about that.
Well, I've got my ticket, so I can't wait to, to join you guys and to see what you guys have in store. But yeah, just for like, because I believe this is just the beginning of, a future of these. So like, what do you guys have planned? Or like, I guess like, let's go back to the beginning. When you were formulating this and figuring it out, I'm sure it must have been a huge daunting task. But like, what goes through your mind when you want to start an event? Like, where do you start from? Apart from, I guess like just picking a venue. What was the kind of first thing you guys just got going?
Can I?
Sorry, Daniel. Sorry.
I
forgot the format.
This is a democratic thing between the three of us about who answers which questions. I think one of the first things we went through was, who do we know? Where do we have contacts at companies? Who can we potentially ask for sponsorship? Who can we ask to come and do talks? Where do we want to do it? How much will this cost? And really all of just the logistics of it. And, even how many people can we potentially get to turn up? And, how much is this needed, and blah, blah, blah. I think the key thing we decided pretty early on was that we were very, very keen to have the event free for attendees. So that was always kind of part of our pitch to everybody that we spoke to. Was it's very important, I think, to me, Jules and Stefan, because we've benefited so much, and from events and from being able to, meet so many of our friends through them and meet people we work with through them, that, we want to make it accessible to people. And one of the common things, if you kind of hang out in student circles, that you'll hear is, oh, I couldn't afford to go, the train was too expensive, the accommodation's too expensive, the ticket's too expensive. So we've really tried to remove as many of the obstacles to getting in as possible, to allow as many people to benefit in the same way that we have from events that we've gone to.
Right, so that's interesting. So basically, it was the student was I guess your core demographic, right? Like making sure they're catered to.
It's not just. I suppose students. It's very important that we cater to them. But there's a lot of people, no matter where you are in your life, who a ticket to an event and the train down there and all this stuff, it adds up. And I think we're just very kind of conscious of the fact that like concept art can be an expensive thing to get into, with all the hardware and the computers and stuff that you need, and courses that you might need to take. And, we just wanted to make sure that, everybody could come and everybody could enjoy the experience of going to an event again after, 2.5 years of not having anything to go to as a community in the UK.
And like, so when I first saw that, when I saw on Instagram, the first like announcement of this event, I'm not sure who shared it on the story, but it got my attention. And I was like, I'm down, because I've been yearning to go to an event for a few years now. I haven't been for a while. So I was almost like, you know, braced or prepared to like pay what was the asking price. But then when I saw it was free, I was like, obviously raised eyebrows, not because it was just free, but because knowing like these events don't come cheap. And even like, you know, especially in London and trying to get a venue and everything. So how did you guys manage to pull that off?
So we're very fortunate to, all of us, we work with companies. And so we just contacted our companies with a game plan. So we worked in the dark for quite a while, trying to prepare what we wanted, what would the event look like, how long would it be. And so we contacted the studios we work for, asking if they were willing to sponsor. And Shark Mob, Stefan's studio, they were very, very helpful. And I think, Stefan, you can talk a bit more about it.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, Shark Mob, they sponsor a bunch of events because we're quite a young company and we are trying to grow. And, you know, I feel like maybe because of that, they sponsor a lot of events. And luckily, when we approached them, they were, you know, I mean, I know all of them at the company, you know, and they know me. And so we set up a meeting and we presented them everything, and Shark Mob was very eager to help us out and get us the big sponsorship that they gave, and to really help start this event and make it feel like it could be possible. So definitely big thanks to them, but also big thanks to all the other sponsors that were really keen to help us out, because, you know, the more sponsors we have, the better we can make this event. So especially that's what we were thinking at the beginning, which is always true. Yeah.
Our policy really is to use every penny that we get, like all the money we get, we use it to make the event as good as possible. So as soon as we had the idea, as soon as we got the first yes from a sponsor, and that yes was enough for us to make it real somehow, then we really went hard, contacting as many people as we could, and working towards making the event as good as we can. And as much sponsor, like the more sponsor we get, the bigger the event gets as well, and until where it is at now. And that's been how we've been processing for it.
I just want to say as well, sorry, Aaron, that you know, we've had all these amazing sponsors, but also while we're here, and you know, maybe if any of them are listening, thank you to all the speakers who are coming. Everybody, you know, as Jules said, every penny of the sponsorship we have is going towards the event and making sure it's free. And we're super grateful to all the amazing speakers who are coming on their own time to, you know, help educate people, give them portfolio reviews and all that other amazing stuff that, you know, will be there on the day that you get these events. So it's really been, you know, as much as I'm sure we all like to sound like lovely people for setting up a free event, there's lots of other amazing, lovely humans who are coming and, you know, giving up those same things to make this happen. So, yeah.
Well said. And I think that's also a great highlight to, I guess, the, you know, our digital art community in general anyway. Like it's quite refreshing to see how eager people are to want to help out and want to arrange things like these, and also want to contribute as well. But like, what was the experience like organizing this? Like, I guess, what was the most difficult thing to get over the line, if there was anything?
Probably getting, like, so first of all, organizing ourselves into, okay, what is the first step? What is the second step? Because it's such a big task that it's very easy to get lost quickly. So I think the first few months of getting a presentation ready and figuring out all the details we wanted was very hard. And then it was being trusted by companies and by professionals, because at the end, we're just three juniors that want to do something that's never been done. I mean, events have been done many times, but not free. So there was a lot of questions. Are people going to come if it's free? Is it going to look cheap if it's free? And so, like, all of these were like the things we had to fight through in a way to prove wrong, or to be like, yeah, it is free, but it's still high quality. Look at the speakers we have. You as a company will gain a lot of benefits from it. So I think now that it's announced, it is definitely going to be easier for whatever we do in the future, because we have a proof of concept. Before it was just three dudes telling them, give us money and we make an event.
Once the website was up, everything got a lot easier.
Yeah,
because we spent so much time like ensuring that the branding looks nice, even just in, because things like that really help.
Good old Daniel and his graphic design education.
It sounds like Dragon's Den, almost like those kind of pitches. Like, I guess not to mention any names, but like, how did you find that experience of like having to, I guess, pitch this idea, almost like kind of reaffirming people or reassuring people that don't worry, this is like fine, and even to yourselves, did that ever kind of like waver any at a point where you're thinking maybe this isn't a good idea? Like, are people going to be convinced, or was it always like a sure thing for yourselves? Daniel, let's start with you.
I'm a very positive person. I have confidence in the abilities of Jules and Stefan. They've both done such an amazing job setting us up. I think the only real question that we've had was, how long is it going to take the tickets to sell out? And we nearly half of them went in like less than a week. So the second that we really put the event up, I was, I'm in good spirits now, Aaron.
That's good to
hear. Yeah. But, I think we're all just really excited for the actual day and to get to show everybody what we've been organizing, It's going to be very exciting and fun.
So what's in store for people? Like, what is the event? Because obviously every event is like obviously a gathering of people, and there's going to be like stuff for people to do. But what is the structure you guys went for?
Dan or Jules, do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, Jules.
So it's going to be a day-long event. It's held at 26 Leaf Street, I believe. If I haven't forgotten where.
Yes, it's 26.
That is where it is, yeah.
on the 9th of September. So it's going to last from 9 a.m. until, I believe, for the main lecture, 6 p.m. And then we have an after party happening at the same venue until quite late for people to really loosen up and get friendly with each other. There are two stages, sorry. The first stage has companies, and the second stage is going to have individual artists. We also have a main area with booth where people can just exchange with companies or with artists. And we also have a portfolio review area, which is one-on-one portfolio reviews with the companies that agreed to do it. And these are bookable tickets, so I'm afraid at the moment it's not possible to book anymore. But yeah,
because they're sold out.
Yeah, I would say we did get some messages from people being like, I couldn't manage to book the portfolio review and stuff like that. And there will be there'll be plenty of incredible artists walking around there. So just have an iPad with your work, ready to talk to whoever is walking. If the guys that are doing the guys or girls that are doing the talk, then if they are not doing it, maybe they'll walk you around, show them the portfolio. Don't worry if you didn't book it. This event is to just walk up to some people and talk, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to give you feedback. Yeah.
What is the thing you guys are most looking forward to? I guess that's quite a vague question considering you've set up the whole thing. But yeah, Daniel, starting with yourself, what is the thing that is something that you are really keeping an eye on? I guess you want to shine, or you just want to see what happens with that?
I think we're all very excited for it to be done. It's quite a lot of work organizing something like this. I think we'll be very happy to have a little while off after it's finished. I'm just personally, I'm just excited to be able to return the favor in a larger sense. As we've all said, we've all benefited so much from this kind of stuff, and there's so many people who, innumerable people that I would have to thank for my career and for the amazing opportunities I've had. And, I think there's just something really nice for me about connecting people and introducing them to people who, they might change their lives in a similar way that people that I met at events or people that I was introduced to changed mine. It's always nice to, kind of increase the close-knittedness of the UK community, because a lot of the time, it's not like in the States where you have a lot of people grouped up in LA and Seattle. So it's always nice to just be able to hang out with people who like the same things as you, and get advice from them, meet them, hang out, and then hopefully continue hanging out after the event. Yeah.
Sure. And Jules, for yourself, like, is there any particular thing that you kind of like excited about, or like looking out for?
I think it's very similar to Dan. I'm very looking forward to see the event happening, and hopefully everything happening well, and we just get to be able to participate and to enjoy our day. And as well, return the favor. It will be amazing to meet some students or even younger kids that end up coming and, they discover what concept art is, or they just find the passion for the job and for the industry. I think that would be something that would be amazing for me.
And Stefan, same question. And also, I had another question, but I've gone blank now. So I'll get you with that question. I'll remember that one.
No worries, man. So, I think I'm excited for all the talks, which I probably won't be able to see on the day when I'm running around and sorting stuff out, but I'll try maybe to catch some of them. So I'm excited for that, and I'm also we have this little server that Dan created, which is really nice. I met a lot of my friends, like a lot of the artist friends that I have there. And I know a lot of guys and girls from that server are coming over, which is really awesome. So I'm looking forward to chatting with them again and hanging out. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to, is just like hanging out with my friends and just like sharing stuff, and all be excited about the stuff that we create, the projects we work on, and the personal stuff we do. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
And for each of you individually, what are you guys actually doing on the day? I'm sure making sure everything is, like working and there's no, like, I guess, holes in the ship. But what are you guys going to be doing? And that's quite, maybe a mundane question, but I'm very curious to hear, like, what is the day going to be like for yourselves?
I think we're mainly going to be running around sorting things out. Hopefully, like Jill said, hopefully we can sit back and relax and enjoy the day and hang out with our friends and stuff like that. But I'm sure it's just going to be very, very busy for us. But there's the after party afterwards. So at the very least, we'll get to wind down after all the main lectures are finished. So it should be very nice either way.
And you mentioned busy there. I can imagine, like, just getting this, like, off the ground and all arranged and all set up and everything. Obviously, it was a lot of work, keeping yourselves very busy whilst working, whilst living your lives as well. What was that experience like?
It was challenging, but also very interesting. Like, I feel like all of us really learned a lot about, I wouldn't say running a business because it's a stretch, but having to deal with many tasks plus a daily job, and having to answer emails of potential sponsors and for the venue, and all the crazy things that we would never have thought about that needs to be dealt with. But yeah, for myself, I really enjoy it, to be fair. I really like having to have a challenge. And it's not finished, of course, but yeah.
It's nice having something that isn't art related, but is for art related. I think you've said that a few times. Yeah.
I mean, I was designing the leaflet that was pretty art related. Don't shit on the leaflet when you see it, okay? I spent so many hours trying to figure it out. Okay?
Don't say anything bad to Stefan's face. You can say it to me and Jules. That's fine.
Okay.
And like, did that? I guess maybe it's a loaded question, not to get yourselves in trouble or anything, but did it negatively affect your artwork in any way? Even like just the way your I guess desire to make art, whether it's personal or professional, like just having to do this other thing, it's other responsibility. Although it's obviously interlinked, it's all connected in in a greater way. But did it, like, managing all of those things, did that have a negative effect in any way, shape, or form?
I'm sure Dan managed to do 10,000 paintings on top of doing this.
Wow.
I think it's all been, for all of us, like, just to clarify in terms of hot water, quote unquote, this has all been something that we've done after work, so it hasn't really impacted any of our work days in any way at all. Responding to emails, meeting up and dealing with all these things. It's all stuff that you can do after work. I think, while it has been very time consuming, it's not been so time consuming that it's eaten into our days and our responsibilities and stuff. So, yeah.
And I guess because it's something that's a positive thing, is almost kind of like, kind of arranging your own Christmas presents, I guess. Just making sure it's all going to be the right things that you're going to get.
Yeah, it's really nice to have control of how the event is going to be and to really shape it into what we like what we would like for an event to be. So yeah, that's definitely a nice thing.
So Jules, you've obviously had experience before with events and even just like been in and around them, I guess, as a guest and also as someone who's making sure things are ticking over. When you were formulating this, what was one of the first things that, in terms of maybe format or in terms of like one things you wanted to have, like what was that thing that, okay, we need to do this or we need to do this in this particular way? Without giving any secrets, I guess.
Yeah, I think I've seen the industry workshop organizers spending lots of time and doing a lot of very hard work to make such an amazing event that they did. So I knew that I knew it would take a lot of good organization and going step by step and taking it quite seriously. And I think as of what I wanted for the event to be, I obviously very good talkers, which we're very fortunate for them to have agreed, and also to have a place for people to interact. And I think the after party as well was quite important because this is pretty much the only moment when we can truly disconnect from the work context, because at the end it's still a work event, it's still a constant event. But when it's the end of the day and it's the after party, everyone can just switch to being, just at a party themselves and enjoying the day. So yeah.
Now that's super important indeed. And speaking of disconnect or disconnecting, what do you guys tend to like? What's your non-art thing that you love to do that helps you disconnect and I guess kind of recharges the batteries? Stefan, over to you.
Cheers, man. So I think for me, I go to the gym in mornings, and I'm not the most jacked concept artist, that's for sure, but I am gonna try and get there. So that's mostly what I do. And what else is there? Sometimes outside of art, there's not much. I like to hang out with my friends and just meet up with them and talk about things. And yeah, I would want to say that I read a lot as well, but I've been reading Dune for the past half a year. I almost finished it. I have 20 pages left.
Okay.
And it's the whole Dune. It's the trilogy. It's amazing. But unfortunately I don't have that many things outside of maybe going to the gym and hanging out with friends. Yeah.
Speaking of getting jacked, maybe in future events you can have a little mini chin bar in the corner or something. That might be cool. Just getting
that's literally something we've joked about. Yeah.
I wasn't joking.
We were saying that we needed to have a competition to define for once who was the most jacked concept artist in the UK.
We should have some, the urine test or whatever, just to make sure no one's obviously cheating or anything.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But Daniel, for yourself, what are your things to kind of unwind or detach from, just the day-to-day?
Unpopular answer. I do more art. I just really like doing art. I have a lot of projects that I do on the side, and there's always things I need to improve. Or feel like I need to improve for work. But I don't know. I genuinely really enjoy it. I don't find it a chore most of the time. Occasionally there's that thing where you're like, oh, I got to learn how to do something very kind of tedious. But no, I do a lot of personal projects. And then other than that, I go to the gym occasionally in the morning with Stefan. Occasionally is probably the word to emphasize. And play some video games, hang out. Go for a run every so often, try to get outside. Yeah,
that's cool. It's it's interesting that almost to switch off, you just still create. It's almost like that thing never turns off. So how do you kind of what is it? Is it just do you switch gears in terms of the projects you create, or is it basically, so I'm trying to get, is it more intentionally different from what you've done commercially or professionally, or have you already set these projects beforehand and you just chip away at them?
Well, a lot of what I suppose that there's probably like an unintentional bias of, if I'm doing a lot of 2D work at work, I might push myself into more of a 3D orientated project. If I'm doing a lot of 3D work at work, I might do a bit more 2D and painting and traditional stuff. But I guess really what I do is, it's just that I make things that I want to make, and that I try to find projects. I think when I was like trying to move into my professional career, I was making projects because I was like, oh, I need to show that I can do this, and I have to show that I can do this, and so I can get employed. But now that I'm kind of gainfully employed and have that kind of comfort, I've been able to be a little bit more picky about the things I set for myself, and really think about like, what do I like and what do I want to show, and what kind of work might I want to be picked up for in the future. So that really kind of orients a lot of what I want to do. And, in terms of like, future goals and things like that, making work that maybe works towards something bigger and further on in the future. And so it's not that I necessarily switch gears. It's just that I think for me, I have a bit of a separation between the work I do for work and the work that I do for my own enjoyment. Because it's for a different purpose, right? One is for a client and one is for me. So.
And Jules, for yourself?
I really like to hang out with friends, play games as well. I try also to keep learning new things, whether it's like about art or any other subject. It's very interesting to watch videos about it, or like audiobooks, that kind of things. I try to go to the gym sometimes. Sometimes I go, sometimes I don't. And I try to do some art as well. But realistically, lately it's been a lot of events. Which at the end, it's pretty. I see it pretty similarly to the way Daniel speaks about personal concept art work. It's like it's not work for a company, it's not work for clients. It's just what we feel like doing, and same for personal concept art and that kind of things.
And just speaking more about like concept art in terms of the art of it in general, what excites you about concept art?
I really like the idea of. Oh, that's a good question. I need to think about it a bit.
I can answer in the
end.
Go for it.
I'll give you time, Jules. I'll say to you. I mean, I think what I love about it is just like, for me, it's that thing of, I love things like Star Wars and world building, and it's being able to create something that maybe like replicates like just 100th of that kind of like childlike joy I felt as a kid, where I got to watch a film for the first time and travel to somewhere new and experience this amazing, like, pretend culture essentially. And to be able to kind of create my own version of that stuff, to, maybe, hopefully, I think the hope for me is always that like somebody at that age sees my work and feels that same joy that I felt as a kid, that, inspired me to do this as a job. And I mean, the other thing is, it's just always awesome to see somebody at like top of their game. A lot of like pretty much everybody I work with is like a phenomenal artist. So it's really cool working with them and seeing what they're doing. And it's always awesome when you come across, I was watching a Dylan Cole iMag talk like last week, and watching what he was doing and what he was talking about was really kind of brought me back to when I was first learning about concept art, and just being like, wow, like how does somebody do that kind of feeling? So that's where I find my kind of personal enjoyment in it, and what I like about
it. So I think for me specifically is part of that of I wasn't sure when I started. I definitely wasn't like someone who knew how to draw. Like my brother actually was the guy who knew how to draw, and he had great imagination, and I could barely draw a stick man, So for me, I think I always strived to actually be able to. I thought, like if there's one skill I would want to see and learn eventually, is like, okay, have an imagination and learn how to actually create things and draw things and stuff like that. And so I'm just happy that I kind of got to somewhere with that. And I'm just excited to be able to, design things, create things, and I just enjoy trying to find something that's cool, unique, and I find it fun to have friends or like colleagues to feedback on it and just make it better and just keep iterating until it's like really good. And of course, and then you realize that it could, later down the line, oh yeah, well it could have been better, but it's that's really fun. And also from point of view of like working for a company, I would say, because I work in video games, like seeing something being put in the game, man, is incredible. Like I cannot, like first time I was like, damn, they made it a reality. It's actually, you can actually use this thing. And that's really fun. Like that really, that was something that I didn't think was going to make me like more inspired, but it really does. So yeah.
Wow. And Jules, yourself?
I had some time to think. Having your own idea and then putting it on paper and like developing it and being able to from just your idea create a cool image, something that either is well designed or looks good or has an exciting backstory or something you want to share with people. I think that's something that kind of pushes me to when I have time to make personal work. And the other thing is also like improving. I feel like in the concept art industry, there's a lot of not grind, but is people really want to get better a lot, and they probably find a lot of joy into getting better and learning new things. And that's also something I think I'm finding joy into doing.
And like one common theme with just people wanting to like enter this space in general, there is always that kind of like hustle, but there's always that kind of like insecurity, like figuring out, even in the day and age of like how much knowledge is out there, you can pick your favorite artists and almost you'll be able to discover from their talks or just they've had an interview somewhere with like their journey throughout it. But it's always still that kind of like uncharted territory for someone embarking on their own thing for many reasons. Maybe it's insecurity, maybe it's just like other factors that are kind of not aligning. And obviously you guys have all spoken about that today and of how like the events and things like that as well have really helped kind of like, like give you a pathway. So you guys obviously have got your own event now, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. If your younger self had attended that event that you guys are doing now, what would you say to that younger version of yourself? Jules, let's start with you.
That's a good question. Probably I would motivate myself to continue to do some concept art and go through some portfolio critique probably, and probably some general advice of how to get into concept art, what to avoid, just trying out many skills and try to find inspiration as many places as I can and ask as much people as I can about different advices for the industry.
And Daniel, yourself?
So I speak to quite a lot of students, and for whatever reason, people trust me and ask my opinion on things. Terrible mistake, but they do. And I think I've been saying this for 2 years now, and saying to the students, go to an event, do this, but there haven't been any events to go to. So finally, this is actually applicable advice that I can give. But I think there's a few key things you got to do when you go to an event. Number one, bring your portfolio and don't bring it on a phone. Bring it on an iPad, bring it on a laptop, or print it out. Make sure that it's actually visible and readable. And if you do bring it on a laptop or an iPad, make sure it's downloaded so that you're not sitting there with, you go and talk to Jam Jobev and then you're like, oh, sorry, my internet's not working. This is a little bit awkward. And then you have to, you run off for half an hour to try and get internet. Have it there, have it accessible.
I made that mistake.
Then, ensure that, I think it's really important that you go and talk to people as a young professional. Don't be afraid to just go up to people and say, hello, I'm, Daniel, I want to work here. Can you look at my portfolio? That's what a lot of people expect at these events. And I don't think anybody's going to, be angry at you for doing that. That's why these events exist and professionals expect it. But at the same time, just make sure and be sensible about how long you stay there. You don't want to be the person by the same token who they remember, standing there for half an hour, 45 minutes, asking the same questions over and over again, or not allowing other students to kind of have access to their opinions and stuff like that. So just be sensible about that. And then the last thing is just network and have fun and meet people. Make sure that, you use these events to the best of your opportunity, because, me and Stefan, because we met each other, we've met so many other people and we've had so many opportunities, including, the fact that we met each other at Vertex is directly tied to us being able to make our own event, a few years later, which is insane to think about, but it's true. So be nice to everybody, and, don't, maybe you do meet somebody you don't get along with, but don't burn that bridge. That can always come back in the future as a wonderful friendship, or somebody that you might want to or have to work with. So it's always good to just be nice to everybody, be polite, and be interested in what they're doing, and just be pleasant.
Well said. Stefan?
Cool. So also I want to quickly say, based on what Dan said, that, for anyone who's listening, who's like maybe also a little bit younger or trying to get into concept art, like, having friends that help you, that support you, and have these communities of people who actually, especially if you're like that kind of person that really wants to get better, like having those communities, they really improve you. So, try and be in those communities, find the right ones, and that's going to be very helpful. And contacts are great because, knowing a lot of people can allow you to do a lot of things, like make events like this and stuff like that. And from my own personal view, what I would give as an advice if I would meet myself or someone like that, maybe would be to chill out, a little bit. And I think I think, as you said, sometimes you in this industry you get into this idea of like grinding all the time, which is okay. From my own personal view, I fell into this thing that I have to get better, but I never asked myself, why do I do it? So I spent a lot of years, even in university, just trying to get better without asking, am I having fun? A simple question that you should ask yourself, and it will make you happier eventually. So I would say a good advice would be ask yourself if you enjoy it. What do you enjoy it? What makes you excited about it? What makes it exciting for you? Try and pursue that. Of course, improve, but find those things that you have fun with. If it's a little bit of sketching, a little bit of doodling, a little bit of, if you like doing keyframes, you love looking at cinematography, find those things, and do them on the side as well as working on your skills, and ideally all together to all merge into, when you get better, you'll be able to do projects and enjoy them a lot more, and have fun. So I guess that would be my advice. Yeah.
And I believe you guys are also running a competition along with the event. So yeah, Jules, over to you. Let us know what's happening with that.
I also just wanted to mention that we have been setting up an art competition with lots of very exciting prizes. The brief is the brush is mightier than the sword. We're looking for entries of any genre and style. It can include keyframe, illustration, character, environment, vehicles, and prop design. If you want to know more about it, make sure to go on our website, and we will announce the winner and distribute the prizes on the 9th of September at the event. So see you there.
Awesome. So I think that's also, like, before we wrap up, for the event itself, Concept 101, what can people expect? So obviously this is sold out, so at the moment there's no tickets available. I believe you guys have got a waiting list. Is that just in case like any tickets become available? Is that what the waiting list is for?
Yes, that's exactly what it's for. And we also notify people of portfolio reviews and stuff like that on there. Yeah.
Awesome. So before we wrap up, any I guess, final quotes or like kind of like final words of wisdom you want to share to people that you'll be attending and just listeners in general? Jules, let's start with yourself.
Well, I hope you're going to enjoy the event and that you're going to have fun there. Bring your portfolio for sure. And I'm looking forward to meet all of them. And I also want to say thanks to you for having us. It means a lot to be able to have a platform to talk about our project and what we're doing. And Lens Squared has been a big thing in my career to learn new things. So it means a lot. Thank you.
Wow,
thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome to be able to come to a podcast like this. Yeah, just like because I remember listening to these when I was like, like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, Learn Square podcast or like
awesome.
Art Cafe podcast, and I was like, oh, one day, yeah. So it's really nice.
That's awesome, and it'd be cool to have you guys on individually. Also as a collective again in the future as well. But thanks a lot, guys, for coming on. It was great to kind of like, I guess, see behind the curtain of this awesome event that's happening.
Thank you, Aaron. Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Jules, Stefan, and Daniel for joining us. Hit the links below to check out Concept 101 and our guests' own profiles and give them a follow too. Whilst all tickets have been taken up, there is still a chance to grab a free ticket if anyone does drop out. All you have to do is sign up to their waiting list, so make sure you hit that link. Then when you've done, check out learnsquare.com and take your creative skills to the next level. All first lessons are free. I've been your host, Aaron Danda. Till next time.